What's going on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another Manchester City daily transfer update. So before I do crack on with this video, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, then do subscribe to my channel. It is free. I'm going to keep you guys up to date every single day here on YouTube with all the latest City transfer news, so do subscribe. You don't want to miss a thing. Also, don't forget, social media links are in the description if you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too. Go on and hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up. We're aiming for 300 likes, and do get your thoughts as well in the comments below. So we've got no contract news to speak about today. We do have the very latest though on the outs, and it is getting very busy on the outs now, which is good. So Joel Ndala, he's officially signed for Hull City on loan for the season. We spoke about this in yesterday's transfer update, so I wanted to wish Joel the very best of luck in the Championship for the upcoming season, and hope he has a cracking loan spell. And speaking of players leaving Manchester City to go out on loan, takes us on to an update on Max Alleyne, as we were speaking about in yesterday's transfer update, and confirmed by Fabrizio Romano today that he's now set to sign a new contract at Manchester City, and as part of that agreement of him signing a new contract, he is going to be leaving Manchester City on loan, and it's believed that Watford in the Championship are in talks to loan Max Alleyne for the season, with Manchester City open to that loan happening. And the loan theme continues, as we've got the very latest on Jahmai Simpson-Pusey, and it's been reported by the Manchester Evening News that Simpson-Pusey now is set to sign for Celtic in the Scottish Premiership on loan for the season. So we're just waiting for the formalities for that to be sorted. I suspect that's probably going to be completed by the end of this week. Now, moving on, we've got the very latest on James McAtee, and James Gaughan has confirmed that Manchester City sanctioning the sale of James McAtee is going to include a buyback clause. Manchester City don't want to negotiate on that. They want a buyback clause including. So that does mean, I think, that Manchester City are going to have to compromise a little bit on the transfer fee. The initial suggestion was City were looking for £25 million. Nottingham Forest were happy to pay £25 million. Manchester City have thought about it and said, actually, we sold Cole Palmer, who doesn't have as much experience as what James McAtee has right now, when City sold Cole Palmer. So they're looking for around the same transfer fee. Both them players worked their way through their City contract, who were both within the last year of their contracts, and Manchester City feel like £42.5 million that City got for Cole Palmer is a fair reflection in today's market for James McAtee as well. Nottingham Forest, I don't think, want to budge too much on £25 million, and I think a lot here hinges on this sell-on fee and buyback clause, because I think if Nottingham Forest include a good sell-on fee and a good buyback clause here for Manchester City, then they may be able to pick him up maybe for just over £25 million. But if they're not playing ball, then Manchester City may want to try and bring in £42.5 million as a whole transfer fee. What I'd find really interesting here is if one of the big teams in the Premier League came in for James McAtee and were willing to pay £42.5 million to Manchester City, but didn't want to include a buyback clause. We sold Cole Palmer for that and had no buyback clause. So would Manchester City be happy to accept the price that they're looking for to get to get the money and no buyback clause, or is the buyback that important to Manchester City that they would negotiate on the price? They're the big questions. We'll see what Nottingham Forest come back in for on their second offer. No club goes in with their first offer and expects it to be accepted, so I can't imagine this is one bidding out by Nottingham Forest. They will be back, and we'll see if there is any more interest. But it's difficult, this transfer, to sort out for Manchester City, because not everything's in Man City's favour here. In an ideal world, if James McAtee wanted to leave, I'd want him to have at least a couple of years. Ideally, I'd be looking at 3 or 4 years left on his contract, because that would put City in a really strong position when it comes to a player's sale. Because if things go wrong, James McAtee ends up staying at Manchester City and he doesn't want to sign a new contract, then he's more than welcome to leave Manchester City next summer, and Manchester City get nothing at all and definitely no buyback. So do Manchester City have everything in their court when it comes to this transfer? We'll see. Chicky did a good job on Cole Palmer. Just unfortunately, we didn't have a buyback clause included, so we'll see what Hugo Viana has learned from that and see what City end up getting from this James McAtee little saga. Very interesting. Anyway, moving on, we've got the very latest on Claudio Echeverri, and Miquel Agut, who is a journalist based in Spain, has said that Girona are working to try and sign 2 players from Manchester City this summer. Claudio Echeverri Echeverri and Vita Hayes. We were reporting yesterday that AS Roma were in advanced negotiations to sign Claudio Echeverri on loan. However, it's been reported by Jack Gaughan today, who's very reliable with information close to Manchester City, that his understanding is that AS Roma are not going to be signing Claudio Echeverri on loan. The plan is for Man City to loan Claudio Echeverri, it's just not going to be to AS Roma. So if we're reading between the lines, it's looking like it probably is going to be Girona. Also find it quite interesting, it seems that Vita Hayes is also available for loan, but I think this is a lot to do with these players getting valuable European experience under their belt so they can come back to Manchester City next summer nice and fresh from their learning experience to see how they do get on. Manchester City, I don't think anyway, their plan is to sell these players. I think the plan is to utilise these players, and right now the best way for City to utilise these players is to send them out on loan, and the same can be said with Xavier Naipan as well. He's looking to make that step up from the Norwegian top league to the Premier League. There is a gulf in difference, and to help bridge that gap, he wants to go on loan to a high quality league and get some valuable experience before returning back to Manchester City. And these three players here, Vita Hayes, Claudio Echeverri and Xavier Naipan, they're going to be quite crucial to Manchester City when it comes to our transition, because in hindsight these players can save Manchester City a heck of a lot of money. And I think City, from a business point of view, will be thinking that if it doesn't ultimately end up working for them, then they'll be able to make a really big amount and a good profit on these players, a little bit like City did with Julian Alvarez. But Julian Alvarez was obviously of the quality that City were looking for at the time that they brought him in, whereas obviously the likes of Echeverri, Vita Hayes and Xavier Naipan of high quality but not quite there yet, and to help them on their progress, City want to loan them. Do remember though that Lyon have the right to loan a player from Manchester City who are now once more playing in Liga, and they're going to be playing in Europe as well. They are guaranteed a player on loan from Manchester City as per the agreement that took Ryan Cherki to Manchester City. So which player is that going to be? Because if it's not going to be Echeverri or Vita Hayes or Xavier Naipan, who all look like they're potentially heading to Girona. I'm not too sure how many players Girona can take on loan from Manchester City, but I presume that it was 2, so it'll be interesting to see where other players end up. Man City will definitely have a plan for these three players. They'll already know where these players are heading, and yeah, I just found it really interesting, and Jack Gaughan has confirmed that the plan is right now for Xavier Naipan, Claudio Echeverri and Vita Hayes is to be loaned out by Manchester City this summer. Also helps with Manchester City's squad registrations when it comes to the Champions League squad, with of course there's 3 named players all being non-homegrown, so it takes a little bit more pressure off Manchester City when it comes to having to sell players. But City still do need to sell and move players on, both homegrown and non-homegrown. Now, moving on, we've got the very latest on Jack Grealish, and Simon Stone has said that Everton are now distancing themselves from making a move for Jack Grealish this summer. It's been both Everton and West Ham that have been getting linked in the last few days with making a move for Jackie G, so we will see who does choose to make a move. Jack Grealish is back in first team training with the Manchester City first team squad, so we'll see what does happen with that. We've also got the very latest on Ederson, and Jack Gaughan has said that Ederson is going to be staying at Manchester City this summer unless Manchester City end up getting a massive too good to refuse offer for him. With the player only having 11 months left on his Manchester City contract, I just can't see any club willing to pay a lot of money when they know that he's going to be available for free next summer, in particular when we're looking at a goalkeeper here who's now into their 30s as well. So I imagine it's going to be Stefan Ortega that leaves this summer, not Ederson. And speaking of Stefan Ortega, takes us nicely onto an update on him, because transfer.com have said that Manchester United have got in contact with Stefan Ortega's camp, and they've been asking him this week about his availability. They've asked about what kind of contract he would be looking for. They've asked about his willingness to join them, because obviously it's a transfer between Manchester City and Manchester United, which normally doesn't go down too well. And I think Stefan Ortega will be thinking to himself, if he's settled in Manchester, obviously we're playing with Manchester City, then he'll be thinking he doesn't have to move, he doesn't have to change anything about his life. The only thing that would change is he doesn't train at Manchester City anymore. He'd train with Manchester United and be part of their squad instead. And Manchester City do need to sell Stefan Ortega, so the question is, are they willing to sell to Manchester United? Because I know there'll be quite a few City fans out there who wouldn't want City basically aiding Manchester United in any way and sanctioning any sale of any player to them. But to me, Manchester City do right now care about business, and it would make sense if City get a good offer to contemplate that offer for Stefan Ortega, a player that they want to sell. So would they dare sell here to Manchester United. We'll see if there are any other offers that come in. I will, of course, report that to you guys, but found that really interesting. I'd love to know your thoughts, by the way, guys. You know, would you be happy for Stefan Ortega to be sold to Manchester United? I don't think the plan would be for Ortega to be their number one, but obviously looking for a competitive number two who's more than capable of stepping up and performing if they need him to. So if Man United offered Man City a good amount here, would you be willing to sell and that quote of good amount with a player that's got 11 months left on his City contract and another goalkeeper into their 30s? What do you consider would be a good amount for Stefan Ortega? So let me know in the comments what you think of that. And finally, moving on to the ins, we've got the very latest on James Trafford, who was announced as a Manchester City player at 7 PM BST last night. Done my announcement video. If you want to go and check that out on my channel, it's the last video that was out on my channel. But it's been confirmed that he will sign a 5-year contract with Manchester City. The 22-year-old English homegrown goalkeeper, who's homegrown by Manchester City as well, is going to be a Manchester City player. It's the homecoming of James Trafford. Things we love to see. So firstly, welcome back, James. Sky Sports have said that it is a deal worth £27 million. However, the Daily Mail is saying that it's a deal worth £31 million. So I presume here what we're looking at as an upfront fee is £27 million, with City including some bonuses and add-ons of £4 million, taking the total transfer up to potentially £31 million, which if paid would be a record fee for a British goalkeeper, surpassing that of Jordan Pickford's move to Everton. The Manchester Evening News have said that Ederson is going to be the first choice goalkeeper at Manchester City heading into the upcoming season, with James Trafford being seen as Manchester City's new number 2 for the upcoming season. And with Ederson's contract up next summer, Manchester City's plan is for Stefan Ortega to leave and James Trafford competes for that number 1 spot, with James Trafford having the potential of becoming Man City's new number 1 first choice goalkeeper from the 2026-27 season and beyond. Finally, Manchester City have announced that James Trafford is going to wear the number 1 shirt at Manchester City, and Jack Gaughan has said that Manchester City, in terms of their incomings now, may be done with James Trafford coming in. He suggested that it's going to be 6 and out for Manchester City, 6 new signings coming in, with Manchester City now done and dusted in this summer transfer window. When it comes to potential incomings, he says that City are not going to be making a move for Tino Livramento in this window. He says that right now City aren't interested or too happy with the right back market, so it's looking like Manchester City are going to stick with what they've got, and they're not going to be replacing Kyle Walker in this summer transfer window. It does mean that Manchester City do have some cash to spend if they do want to go and do some more business in the January transfer window, just like Manchester City did last January as well. So we will see what does happen with regards to that. But yeah, I think the focus here for Manchester City has to turn towards the outgoings, get that sorted over the next couple of weeks, and then focus really hard on assessing the market. If there is no incoming, work really hard on getting some of our players onto new contracts, including making it a priority to ensure that Rodri gets tied down, and then having a look at some of the other players as well. So still a lot here to sort for Manchester City, and of course I'm going to keep you guys up to date every single step of the way here on YouTube with all the latest City transfer news. So if you haven't already, do subscribe. It is free. Also, don't forget social media links, they're in the description too if you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships or any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on today's transfer update. We're aiming for 300 likes. And also don't forget as well to get your thoughts in the comments below. And I'll see you all again religiously tomorrow for the next daily Manchester City transfer update. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. Hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.